It's ready to go live. What's up, baby? All right, all right, all right. Are we live? Live once again. Yeah, it seems to work until it doesn't, and then it goes ape shit. So yeah, a little bit frustrating. I don't guess I'm going to be able to have any guests on today. That's okay though. I'll give it. This will be third try is a charm, right? As they say. I'm going to see if my secondary phone will load up the program so that I can test it from there and possibly copy the link into the other phone so I don't have to switch from this phone because it seems to work as long as I don't switch apps. As soon as I switch from the StreamYard to the YouTube to check it on one phone, then that's when it seems to break. That's when the connection, it doesn't like that shit. It's more than it can handle. But I'm working on kind of an older phone, guys. You'll have to forgive me for that. But God, that water smells like garbage. The phone I'm using actually to transmit is it's an iPhone 6S, so it's pretty old. But I refuse to update the new phones all the time. It seems like you buy a phone, the motherfucker, if it's still working, it should last, at least a decade. Why do you got to get involved in buying phones every 2 or 3 years? That seems kind of expensive, is what it seems. It seems expensive, and I don't like to do it. So I'm using a pretty old phone. In fact, motherfucker, that coffee is hot. Well, the water's hot. The coffee's shit, honestly. But I've still got a iPhone 4S that I use, in fact, as like an MP3 player. It's got some old pictures on it that I like, but I pretty much just use it for like old school music. Yeah, it says I'm live, man. Let me check this on my other phone. It's going to take some time though, because the VPN on this other phone works even slower than the one on my iPhone. So imagine that. Like I've got my iPhone 6S, which I bought in the US and I've been using for like 10 years. It still works and it will still get around the bound firewall easier than a phone that my wife bought me like just last year. It's a brand new phone. It's a Huawei or Xiaomi or whatever. It's a Chinese brand, but it's pretty freaking awesome. It's got like a radical camera on it. It's got like a ton of storage. It's got like a 1 terabyte solid state drive or whatever. So it's really a good phone. It's got a very high definition screen on it and all the bells and whistles. But for some, it's also got all of the spyware that modern phones have on them. So it will hardly ever connect to the internet. It'll sit around and like send data back and forth all the time, even when I turn it off. Like it'll just keep sending and receiving data. So I don't trust it as much as I trust my old school phone. I think this older phone, I think that's why they're trying to phase it out, is because it doesn't have all the hardcore spyware on it. It doesn't have enough memory to process all that hardcore spyware. Yeah, so if I'm going to be able to do this, then I'm going to have to wait until this other phone boots up and gives me the opportunity to send it out over the YouTube without doing it from this phone. Other than that, welcome back to the chat, guys. Frank Monday coming at you for a third try here in Twilight Zone Old Peking, deep within the central kingdom of the celestial dragon. I hope you are doing well this evening, wizard, warrior, wanderer, wayfarer, wherever you are, whoever you are, and whenever you may be receiving this transmission. I've got about an hour. So we wasted about an hour trying to figure this horse shit out. And now I've got about an hour to transmit before I've got some business meetings to go to. But who knows? I might be able to jump on here again later on tonight after the business meetings. Probably not, though. Those characters in business, they usually like to drink. And if they want to drink and get hookers, then we might be going late into the night. But if they don't, if you want to call it an early evening, then I might be able to have a little live stream after my work duties. We'll see about that. Yeah, so the feedback loop may or may not be coming in here in a minute to let me know if I've even been transmitting for the last 10 minutes. It does say the music is, I don't know if that music's playing or not, but it does say that I've got it on there. Let's see here. I'll try to lower it. Don't know how much that worked. Can you guys see any of this? Can you see the Grand Wizard of the Esoteric Order of Dagon, your friend and well-wisher, Frank Monday, inviting you to participate in the 100-day challenge, Pathways of Magic. Make sure you hit those like buttons and subscribe to the channel. Share it out to a friend. Check me out on www.imnotacriminal.com/Frank Monday. Drive to 1,000, guys. This is the big drive to 1,000. We're at on this channel. We're at 686 subs. So we're not far from 1,000. Yeah, that's looking good, man. The feedback loop is fine. My volume is fine as far as I can tell. I've got the other phone bringing in the looped out echoed message, and I can hear it loud and clear. I don't hear any static or anything. Let me check it again. It's coming in really slow, so I'll just have to wait until it boots up and it shows me what it's got. Probably not though. Yeah, so you can hear that, right? I don't know if you guys can hear it over there, but I can hear it. Sounds like I'm coming through perfect. So volume is perfect. Everything is perfecto. Let's get back into this. Drive to 1,000, guys. Help me get up to 1,000 subs, man. That would really help me out a lot. Then I might be able to monetize my channel, and who knows? One day I might even be able to become a full-time YouTuber, right? When I retire, when I'm done with the working world, that would be great. Holy art thou, Lord of the universe, the vast and the mighty one, creator of heaven and earth, maker of all things visible and invisible, master of both the light and the darkness, he who was, is, and always shall be. We adore thee and we invoke thee. Send us one of your divine spiritual agents, our holy guardian angel, to guide and protect us, protect and guide us through the innumerable snares of the earthly sphere and a cleansing wind to disperse all negativity and endless human opinion. Teach us those things which we must know for the completion of the great work and the glory of thine ineffable name, Adonai. So it is commanded and confirmed. So mote it be. Amen. All right, good magic. Once again, getting back into it. Yeah, kind of a long day, man. Kind of traveling and hanging out in the hotel. No kind of fun, really. Um, I do enjoy it occasionally, like not routinely, but occasionally I do enjoy the traveling and the hotel staying. Sometimes it's more fun than not. Sometimes it's just kind of a drudgery. It always entails some danger, though. There's some element of danger and adventure and traveling. The unpredictable nature of the thing. Now it's not responding to me at all. I keep hitting the button. It says the feed started 7 minutes ago. Hotel part trace. I hit the button and nothing happens. So yeah, it's just one thing after another. No big deal though. If you are out in Happy Land, if you're in the ideas room, uh, if you got any questions or answers you want to talk about, just put it in the chat box. I will respond. I don't have any really tales of yore to tell tonight. Don't want to talk about work. Don't want to talk about the past, really. Let's talk about the future. How is the future looking for you? Lots of different things going on in the future, happening simultaneously with the present and the past. You got to learn to correlate them, correlate all of the three areas of time, space, and our interaction with it. You know? various pathways branching out from the present into various alternate future realities. Which one are you most interested in? Are there any? It still says one person's watching, but I think that's me trying to watch the feedback loop, which is not loading at all. It's going really, really slow. But I'm going to continue on confident that this is somehow reaching you. I'm going to continue confident that you guys can hear and see me. You can see me having my coffee and my JP Farrell. I got my JP Farrell right there, and I got my coffee right here. Check out this coffee cup, man. It's pretty cool. If I don't burn my fucking hand touching it. Yeah, this is my one of my favorite Chinese patterns. The bamboo with calligraphy. You do that with a brush pen, that calligraphy. It's really nice. And the bamboo painting. Can you see that? I like that a lot. That's one of my favorite patterns from Chinese art. It's one of the things that kind of reeled me in was all of the accoutrements of the Chinese culture, art, calligraphy, uh, martial arts, of course, music, the cuisine, the architecture, the old timey philosophies, and the people themselves. Man, I had a lot of good friends when I was young. They always seemed to be like cool, calm, collected characters and good people to interact with. You know, their families seemed business driven, and they wanted to be productive members of the community. They weren't fucking around causing trouble. Again, though, a lot has changed, right? Like, I don't get that same feeling anywhere I go in the world anymore that I got and I guess it's just me, you know, I've gotten older. But it used to be when I would go visit some of these old haunts in the past, I had various feelings that would come from seeing and visiting certain sacred sites or old neighborhoods. And it maybe it's because so many have passed away. I'm the youngest of a big family, so I've pretty much outlived all my brothers and sisters. Not all of them though. I still got a brother down in San Diego. I got a sister in LA. And as far as I know, I got another sister in Colorado, but she doesn't talk to me anymore. She got kind of upset over some various things that happened in the past by no fault of mine. It was her fucking husband that drove a wedge between us, which I think is silly. Like anybody's one of my favorite may yeah, see that's coming through perfect, man. Ain't nothing fucking wrong with that transmission on the YouTube. It only loaded for just a second, but I could hear it perfect and it sounded like the audio and everything was going really nice. So no worries there. If you are in the ideas room, if you're in the chat room and you're getting a good clear audio, give me the fives, 5 by 5. I know that last transmission bonkered out, and it was because I tried to um I tried to have a guest on and that didn't work. Let me see if I could try it again. So I'm clicking guests and you know what, I'm not even gonna fuck with it this time because it just doesn't seem to work. The last couple times I tried, it just fucked up. And that's no fun. It's no fun when the old tubes shit on the transmission. Yeah, so I was talking about old haunts. Like I was telling you guys, I grew up in LA, Los Angeles, California, on the border of Compton and Long Beach. Bit of a ghetto baby. We were in a lower middle class neighborhood at the time. But if you go back there now and you try to buy one of those little single standing 2 to 3 bedroom houses, they're going for like nearly $1 million now. Whereas back in the 70s, when my dad bought that house, you know, he was already out of the Navy for good God, how long? Probably 10 years, and already had started his business. You know, he had an automobile dealership, but He went from being a salesman to a business owner. And yeah, I think it was $25,000 that second house that he bought. Now it's 750,000 for that same house. I looked it up on Zillow or whatever. Not recently, maybe 5 years ago. But I drove by there. I drove through the old neighborhood and had a look at the old house. And I thought, yeah, how do you go from 25,000 to 750,000 in 20 years? More than 20 though. How old was I then? Mid 40s. Yeah, so it had been 30 plus years. But still, I remember him telling me when I was a kid. He said when I got out of the Navy, this was like the 60s, right? He said you could build a house for for under $10,000 for 5 grand. You could get them out of a Sears Roebuck catalog, and you'd get a lot. I think it was like $2,000 for a lot there in Long Beach. And Sears would send out all the home furnishings, and you just put them together on the weekend with a couple of buddies, get a couple of cases of beer and some hammers and saws, and you could put the house together out of a box. But yeah, you can't do that anymore. They don't want anybody enjoying anything with any form of autonomy. Should be though. Having a home and a dwelling and even some transportation should be standard for every individual on earth. It shouldn't be something you have to struggle your whole life to endeavor to get into. And it shouldn't be one of your main concerns day in and day out as, your primary incentive to work. It should just be standard. I mean, birds get out there and build a new house every year. They don't have to pay no rent and taxes, especially the people in the lower echelons of society. They should be given housing, food and clothing, and housing at low expense. And there's no reason why we couldn't. But what do I got? A fucking mouse in my pocket. There's no reason why those camp programs for supporting the most at risk in society with a with like a minimum standard of living. Of course, at the same time, I don't agree that able-bodied people should be cajoled and given the opportunity to live off the government tit. I think they should participate, but there should be more social programs that help people. Definitely, with less oversight too. Like shit doesn't have to be perfect. We've got a pretty simple science to setting up structures these days. The foundations could be simpler, like cinder block with A-frame houses. It wouldn't be expensive at all. You don't even have to run them with a lot of power. Just based on the intention of use for whoever's going into it. If it's a single homeless person, or maybe you could set them up with a couple of homeless people, try to get them some kind of social program where they support each other, and get them some basic facilities, shower, sink, limited kitchen facility. And they don't have to be those tiny style homes either, because that there's nothing like that to kill the dignity and demean the person. It needs to be a basic model, of a couple of bedrooms, maybe a shared bathroom, and then a shared living, dining, and cooking area. So it does need to be like your basic two-bedroom house. And there could be different ways to go about this too, but I know that the cost is so low and there's so much land available that it would be super easy to do. People needn't struggle. And you could even dedicate a light rail to come in and out of the neighborhoods um, a couple of times per day. Like have a morning train going out, if people want to go downtown and hang out in Panhandle or whatever, and then an evening train going back in the evening. and facilitate life. What's wrong with that? I hear a lot of these religious nerds and folks out there on the internet these days promoting themselves as gurus, but they don't really necessarily have programs already well thought out programs in their mind on how all this would play out. I've given it tons of thought from like day one, from like even when I was a little kid and I saw my first homeless person in LA. And I'd go down to this guy was living on the side of a shopping mall with a shopping cart up in the eucalyptus trees, and he had a little like wigwam set up, and everybody said he was a pervo, and he'd rape and murder kids or whatever. I'd go down there and bring him and set shit out by his wigwam, like steal shit out of my parents' refrigerator, pack of bacon, loaf of bread, jar of peanut butter, and I'd go down there and set it by the wigwam, and then hide off in the bushes to see if he found it. I'd sit around for a little while, maybe not see if he got it or not. But I think one or two times I did. I saw him come out and he got it, grabbed it, and he scurried back into the wigwam, made himself a peanut butter sandwich, and I thought that was pretty fucking cool. And I thought, man, if every family would, like when we would do a canned food drive or whatever, everybody pony up, everybody give a ton of food for the homeless and stuff. But then they made it illegal. Like legally, you couldn't do it. I had an uncle, big time communist, that was like, he rose to like the top. Hell, he was a professor at UCLA, and he used to go down to El Dorado Park every weekend and make like a huge vat of chili, like on Saturdays. Saturdays he'd do like chili and cheese sandwiches or something. So he'd make a giant like 50-gallon or whatever pot of chili, and then make grilled cheese sandwiches or something, and hand all that out with bottles of water. I think he was feeding like 50 to 100 people on the weekends, and they shut him down. I think they charged him too. I think he ended up getting charged with like a civil, I don't know, some sort of civil thing, like disrupting the peace or something, or illegal organization or something like that, which those laws are all totally unconstitutional. I can tell you right now, like, folks are so big hearted and really want to help, but the city just doesn't allow them to. And it had it gone in a different direction, like rather than trying to provide all of these homeless people with illicit drugs and needles, why not provide them with showers and fresh clothes and something to eat, you know? But they just thought it was an easier path to allow all this illicit drugs into the communities so that these people would kill themselves off, and that's not cool. That was the wrong way. Gavin Newsom, he's to blame. That the governor of California right now, if he runs for higher office, he should definitely not be allowed to, because it's people like him and Kamala Harris that destroyed California with bad social programs. And they didn't have to. They did it intentionally. It's manufactured suffering and sorrow and hardship that didn't have to be implemented. In fact, like I was saying, back when I was a kid, homeless people were a lot better off. There were more and more, if something like that was going in or around or near the community, folks would set them up with blankets and a tent and make sure, you stop by a couple of times a week to make sure they're still alive, and drop off some food, can opener, full of toilet paper or something. And sometimes we'd find out, that these people were vets back from war. Of course, there were multiple generations of that too. You had all and here's the huge difference, which totally baffles me, and probably someone already done research on it and figured out why it was. But all the boys who came back from World War II, they didn't have the kind of PTSD that the kids coming back from Vietnam did. Like the military men who survived and made it through the Second World War, they came back and they were bootstrap type of dudes. They re-entered their community, standing upright and building the neighborhoods up, building homes and getting jobs and starting businesses. Whereas the exact opposite happened from the guys coming back from Korea and Vietnam. They came back, their minds were shattered, and they didn't know They didn't know their ass from a hole in the ground or which way was up, you know? And so I definitely think it has to do with the drugs that infiltrated during both periods, right? And it wasn't really until NAM, I think, that that high level of infiltration of illicit drugs, heroin and opium and LSD and even marijuana. I mean, obviously, cannabis is the least among them, but those other hard drugs that it really destroyed those boys. And when they came back from war after all that killing and pillaging, they weren't in any kind of mind to re-enter into society. And again, right, notice the stark difference between the greatest generation, the guys who fought in both, probably maybe even both World War I and World War II, and then they entered into society fairly smoothly and were able to start businesses and participate in their communities. My dad, he served in World War II and all the battles in the Pacific up to the Korean conflict, and he was involved in the Korean conflict, and he was actually still an enlisted officer when Vietnam broke out, and that's when he totally retired from the military. And it's interesting too, with such a long career in the military, when my dad broke ties with the military, he swore to never have anything to do with them again. Like my eldest brother actually joined the Navy, like my dad, but he wouldn't allow me or my brother because we were much younger. We were like 12 years younger than our older brother. By that time, by the time my dad broke off his association with the U.S. Navy, he made us swear as children that we would never join any kind of military service. So that's interesting. It makes you wonder why. He never told me why. Well, he did, but not in so many words. He didn't tell me how they, why he broke off all relations. He didn't tell me what ultimately soured his relationship with them, but he did tell me that as his son, that I would be better off doing anything but that. He said you can do anything in the private sector, you know, get any other job, be an engineer, be an architect, whatever, but don't do that. And I told him I wanted to study medicine, and he encouraged that. My older brother actually did end up studying medicine and got his medical degree and got himself in tons of tons of school debt. But he actually worked. It took him 12 years to pay all his debt off, 250,000 in debt, but finally paid it off. Whereas I worked part-time jobs and went to school part-time and never accumulated any school debt. So I was able to work my way both through a bachelor's and a master's program just on part-time jobs without getting any debt of any kind. A little bit of rotating debt, but I paid it all off pretty quickly, and I never dug myself into a hole. But I wasn't able to study medicine, or I didn't choose to. Uh, Studied English, rather, literature, Western literature, and a minor in small business management. But the pathway worked out okay. It ended up serving me pretty good. You know, my dreams changed over time. I remember when I was a kid, one of the first things I wanted to do, so growing up on at or near the ocean, I wanted to be an oceanographer and study the ocean. But that dream lasted till I got into junior high, and all of the guys who were in like the on the swim team and in those programs, like really able to adapt to the ocean, they were far more athletic than I was. And so I kind of thought, I'm probably not going to be able to survive at sea if I fall out of a boat. You know, could I swim back to shore? Could I swim 5 miles back to shore? And I don't know that I could. Not until later. When I got college age, my physicality improved a bit, but I've never been much of a hardcore athletics guy. Right. So dreams change. And again, when I was in my teens, the dream morphed to the dream of going abroad. And I tried really hard to get into a program to come to China in high school, but it just wasn't available. I mean, think of the timing. the mid to late 80s. Was there a very good relationship with the Chinese at that point? And by the time I got out of high school, the relationship improved. Bill Clinton came over here and, paved the way. And suddenly, there was a huge shift from it being this, behind the bamboo firewall to being a country that was more approachable. The Clintons were over here, doing business. And the Biden family, they were over here doing business. So all of those guys had opportunities, they could do whatever the hell they want. But yeah, I wasn't able to find a program at that time. It wasn't until after I had gotten out of college and had been in the work world that I was finally able to secure myself an opportunity. It's interesting too, because I took Chinese classes at university, and I had not my first Chinese teacher, but my Chinese teacher at university. Her surname was Chen, so Mrs. Chen Laosher, Chen Tai Tai. What did we call her? We called her Chen Tai Tai, I think. And she said, "Kiddo," like I was pretty young, early 20s, late teens, early 20, when you hit 20, 21, 22, when I was having her classes, I think 20, 21. She said, yeah, I said, it seems like there's never any chance. I've been wanting to go to China, for like 10 years now. And I said, it just seems so hard to get an opportunity. And she said, as long as you got a dream, you'll find your way. She's like, don't worry about it. Don't be too hard on yourself. Dreams come true, and don't sweat the small stuff. So she was pretty cool. I liked her. We learned some basic Chinese from her. Took 4 years of her classes. Was it 4 years or 4 semesters? I think it was only 4 semesters. It was like Chinese 1, 2, 3, and 4. But yeah, it seems like it was 2 semesters per level. So level one was 2 semesters. Yeah, it was 4 years. I took electives from her pretty much the entire time I was there. Good class, good fun. There was only 5 guys in it. I think we started with 5 guys. I think the university said we had to have at least 5 people in the class. And we maintained 5 for the first 2 years. And then, like in years 3 and 4, nobody else would join. So it was me and one other guy. And we we were still able to get the credit, but they didn't organize the class. And we just had to she assigned us the lessons. We had to finish the lessons, but there wasn't an actual classroom assigned for us. And it seems like we met in the lab, school lab, to meet up and take tests and stuff. But all in all, it was a pretty good experience. It laid the groundwork anyway for me studying Chinese at a higher level. I got the rudimentaries out of the way. I thought I knew something too when I came over here. And no, I didn't know anything. Like all the book learning in the world, it gets you to a basic level, but like when you get into society, it matters very, like it helps. At least people know that you made an effort. But like everything's still a dark, nebulous miasma that you can barely penetrate at the most rudimentary level. I would say it took me another 5 years of study in country to get enough of a serviceable level to be able to take parts in conversations fairly well. Maybe I'm a slow learner. Other people could probably do it faster. But yeah, so it took me a solid 10 years of study. So 5 in the US and then 5 in country to be able to get to a level where I felt relatively comfortable reading and writing and communicating in the language. So it's a pretty big learning curve for a foreigner, for a Westerner. Easier for Chinese and Japanese because their language is built on much of the same structure. It has a similar kanji or character style, especially the Japanese. And then the Koreans do really well because they already have a similar tonal structure. And so they can learn it pretty quickly. Plus, I think they learn it like as a second language growing up. Like I believe, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, Singapore, South Korea, Japan, they all grow up learning like 3 languages. So they'll learn their native language, then they'll learn Chinese as a second language, and they'll also study English as a third language. In fact, they're probably more prone. Singapore, I know, studies English very religiously. South Korea, probably some too, but Japanese not so much, not as much as the Koreans or the folks in Singapore. Whereas I think that the system in Singapore is the most rigorous. They study Chinese and English more than they study their own native language. So the US, I think maybe probably that's part of the reason the US allows for so much immigration. They're trying to get the native population to be a little more multilingual like the rest of the world. I mean, imagine all the European folks, they all have to study multiple languages as they grow up. If you imagine if you grow up in Germany, you're going to have all of these northern countries that border you and have very similar language structures based on Dutch, Deutsch, the Finnish. You might reach out to Sweden and stuff. And then as you go south, you can French and Italian and go a little bit east. I don't know whether they got Romanian and Bulgaria or what. Fuck, I don't know much about Europe, man. It's been a long time since I've looked at a European map. But yeah, they grow up just being more multilingual. So yeah, it was one of my pursuits. Spanish, not so much. I got an older brother who married a gal from Mexico. They had a couple of kids, and he spoke Spanish fairly well. He did pretty good in Spanish high school level Spanish, and then he sought out to marry. It's interesting too because um, nearly all of the boys in my family, my older brothers and I, married something other than Caucasian, and we're all white guys, and so my Navy brother he married a Filipino gal, and then the brother right between me and him he married a Mexican gal, and then me I married a Chinese gal. So growing up on the West Coast, the left coast as it were, they really were pushing Caucasian kids to get out of their own gene pool and commingle with the other folks, which I don't know, good, bad, who can say? It's fun though if you're inclined to be open to other cultures. It it seems like a lot of the gals from those other cultures, they sometimes come in with more traditional values. And I don't know about how long marriages last with everyone. I think it's something like a 50% divorce rate for a lot of folks in within the first 2 to 3 years for like everyone from all echelons of society. But and it's pretty high here too in the city in Beijing. Like out of my wife and all of her college friends that got married, there are only so she had like 10 friends that I remember, girlfriends that all got married around the same time as us. So we're talking 10 couples, right? And 8 out of 10 divorced within the first couple of years. And there's only been out of all the school reunions and stuff, there's only been me and her, and then she has one other friend who's still married to her husband that has lasted 20 years. So only 20% of all of those marriages lasted, as were able to endure the entire time to raise their kids all the way up to college level. And then, like, both of my brothers ended up divorcing their wives within, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 years. Like my eldest brother, he seems to have lasted the longest. He was with his old lady for they had like 5 kids together, and it seems like they were together for about 10 years, and then they ultimately couldn't live with each other anymore and ended up getting divorced. Whereas my other brother, he was only with his wife maybe 3 years, and then they split ways. So it's pretty common. I mean, it's hard. It really is to stay married. And it's not just about being in love. You need more than love. You need some sort of common ground that unifies you and brings about a grander vision. And for me personally, it was just having children. Like I decided, hey, we've got someone out there in Happy Land. Good to see you. Um, we've got a visitor. Welcome, visitor. TS. I'll call you Elliot Smith. Elliot Smith, welcome to the Ideas Room. That's an interesting little handle you've got there. Where'd we get to? Yeah, so make sure you guys hit the thumbs up, like and subscribe. Oh, that happy horse shit that keeps YouTube's algorithms marking like Pavlov's dog. Woof, woof, woof. Come back often, check back often, make sure that you're keeping up with the 100-day challenge, Pathways of Magic. Get in it to win it. Do some daily practice. Learn a little something new, a little something outside of your ordinary, everyday, daily torture, and progress along the tree of life, up the flowery path from Malkuth to Yasad, and then go out either direction you want. If you're mechanically inclined, head off into the sphere of Hod. If you're more of a nature baby, if you like to run around naked and bare feet in the dirt, growing growing armpit hair, and ripping veggies out of the ground and stuff, then head up to Netsock. Either way you go, you can reunite with everyone along the great concourse in Tippereth, that heart-centered chakra where we share in the love and understanding and human emotion. Yeah, so don't miss your chance to travel along the pathways of magic with your friend and well-wisher, Frank Monday. If I had a friend like Frank Monday on the internet, I would definitely be get involved, get busy learning about magic. It's kind of a fun thing. It's one of my greatest passions in life. I believe myself to be a natural born magician. I learned about it really young in life. Before I even read any books about it, I kind of had figured it out to an extent. The power to manifest, a hard, no scientific, materialistic point of view as well, and just be like, fuck, it's basic skills anyone can learn. You set goals and you work towards them. And I'd say, yeah, but it's about the paradigm. Do you follow synchronicities and golden light and dreams and visions? Or do you just do it? You could do it with journaling. I do it with journaling as well. Knows scientific approach, I think, is important to the study of spiritualism and magic. My mysticism is one of diligent scientific inquiry into these things, replicable, replicable. How do you even say that freaking word? Like you can replicate it. You can do the experiment over and over and over again and see if you get tangible, consistent results from it. And if you do, then you're approaching, magic with a. Can you hear that? No. With a scientific mindset. And that's the way to get it done. That's one way to get it done. Yeah, a lot of people these days are following the path of the shaman, right? They like to do their strong, noxious intoxicants and think that that leads to enlightenment. And it does, just a certain kind of drug addled enlightenment where you see shit you don't understand and are given glimpses beyond the veil that All right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right. Can you hear me all right? All right, all right, all right. Yeah, well, once again, it seems that the internet boned out on me. That's all right. Let me check it here. See if it's working all right. All right, all right, all right. Yeah, that's not working. Can't even move that. See if I flip it this way. That seems to work. And then we flip it this way. And that doesn't seem to work. Let's flip it that way and see if that works. That doesn't seem to work. And then we flip it this way. And that doesn't seem to work either. So it doesn't matter which way I flip it. None of it's going to work. That's okay. I'll just sign off then. It looks like the internet wants to play games with me. I love y'all good looking, sexy people out there in Happy Land. You see my shirt? Got that from my uncle, man. Um, I hope you stay well out in Happy Land. I will finish off just by saying, hit the thumbs up, all that fun stuff that makes YouTube bark like a dog. Ruff, ruff, ruff. Come back often, leave a comment on the video. I love y'all good looking, sexy people. Stay well out in Happy Land. Until next time, your friend and well wisher, Afraid of Francis Lunas Aristaeus of the OTA, wishing you good magic. I don't even see a stop button anymore. Yeah, I don't even know if that worked, man. I don't even know if I could. I don't even know if I could stop the transmission. Ad Astra Prospera, into the abodes of the future. Do good magic.